This week on Tune In Tuesday, we have Ruzewski. Ron is the engineer for the number 3 IndyCar for Helio Castroneves. Working with a guy like Helio, does it make your work easier?
For the most part, it does, because Helio's got so much experience. He pretty much knows what he needs. He knows how to win, so it definitely helps us out. He knows what he needs from the car, and the hard part of it is, the expectations are pretty high because he's got so much experience, and you have to perform as well.
Could you explain the car setup process? Do you have a basic setup that is fine-tuned for each driver?
Well, the car setup process, basically, first we start by looking at the type of track we're going to and what the historical requirements have been there. If it's a road course, if it's a street course, if it's an oval. Then we look at what we've done in the past, and we consider what we've been doing this year, testing. We come up with a base setup, do some simulations, and we develop a starting setup. Then we go to the track and fine-tune it. Each driver's got some tendencies that they like, so we try and work with that and find the optimum setup for them at the track.
Are there any similarities in the circuit where you don't change much of the setting of the car?
For sure, there's different types of track that are similar. For example, street courses or permanent road courses, short ovals, and the big ovals like Texas. Those kind of tracks tend to be similar, and a lot of the things carry over from track to track. For example, something at Long Beach might carry over to Brazil because they're both street circuits and they're kind of similar in nature. So there's definitely some things that carry over from track to track that are very useful.
What is the hardest part about preparing an IndyCar for a race?
The hardest part? Besides getting it right, I would say all the details. There's so much that goes into an IndyCar weekend, from the guys preparing the car, to pit stop practice, to figuring out your run plan, tire management, the setup, the preparation ahead of time, simulation, all the wind tunnel work, all that kind of stuff, all the details. And it's really the details that make this successful weekend and being able to execute.
Could you give a brief overview of all the different adjustments to the car, which are controlled by the driver and which are controlled by the crew? Also, can you make a track adjustment via a computer in real time?
Well, first I'll answer the second part of it. There's no real-time computer adjustments we can make to the cars. It's not that it's not possible, it's just that it's not allowed by the rules. So there's no two-way communication from the pits to the car via computer. The setup adjustments, there's different groups of it, and it's probably broken down in there. There's aerodynamic groups, total downforce, where you can adjust the front and rear wings, different wickers and such. There's mechanical changes, springs, shocks, front and rear anti-roll bars, the geometries. There's different gears that we run, differential settings. So there's quite a bit of parts that we can adjust to set the car up. The driver can only adjust brake bias, and if we're running front or rear anti-roll bars, there's settings in the car where they can adjust those. And on an oval, there's they call it weight jacker, which can move weight from the left to the right side of the car, but that's only used on the oval. So for the driver, it's only anti-roll bars, brake bias, and the weight jacker settings.
For aspiring engineers in IndyCar, what advice would you give them? And what would you say race teams are looking for in an engineer?
I would say that I would encourage a school that offers an engineering program and putting a big effort in the education. A lot of the good universities now are offering motorsport specific programs, which race teams tend to look at those. I would say getting the most out of your education as well as developing a good database of practical knowledge, getting involved with the Society of Automotive Engineers. The Formula SAE program is a really good program, and we definitely look at that and people who've come out of those programs. I would say the race teams look at attitude, how determined the people are, and intelligence, and kind of a well-rounded person. It takes a special person to be in motorsports because it's definitely a demanding sport. It's the highs are high and the lows are low, so it definitely takes a lot.
And that was Ruzewski, the engineer for the number 3 IndyCar of Helio Castroneves.